From content creation to music, fashion and advocacy, social media platforms have opened new avenues for LGBTIQ+ individuals to express who they are. For many, these platforms offer affirmation and connection that may not always be available online. Some advocacy groups say online spaces have allowed members to build audiences, create businesses, and advocate for themselves publicly.
Social media visibility has been increasing in Botswana, more notably, and even in the region, particularly for LGBTIQ individuals who have gone to become influencers and have large followings, and essentially creating somewhat positive narratives around the LGBTIQ community. Gender diverse individuals have notably been more expressive, showcasing some of their talent, their art online, because it has been an enabling space, particularly in restrictive, culturally and gender restrictive environments. And so I think it has been a positive element to note.
We've seen LGBTQI influencers making it on social media, and I think that on its own is evidence that the LGBTQI community has access to social media, and I think we can agree that quite a good number of them are using social media to self-advocate, to raise issues, to raise awareness on social issues, and so on and so forth.
Social media allows for the space for LGBTIQ communities, organizations, activists, human rights defenders to create visibility, to organize, to mobilize, right? And even this happens in Botswana because we've seen it throughout the cases, if it's the freedom of association cases, the decriminalization cases, even the campaigns that were I Shall Not Forget, and even recent non-discrimination campaigns that have been happening. So that is how we mobilize, how we connect, because this means like creating positive messaging that speaks to our causes and sharing that with Botswana out there. It also provides like platforms where people can find some form of support, right? Especially if you are in spaces where there's no access to, if it's support groups, access to mental health issues, and so forth. So there are those groups on social media that allow for that.
On the other hand, Botomaru Atona said visibility does not always equal safety. She cautions that online acceptance can be selective. Factors such as class, appearances, and how individuals are perceived by audiences often influence who is embraced and who becomes a target.
They have sex, which is very much an invasive question. Now, social media has definitely created like a liberating space for LGBTI persons in the form of like self-expression of who they are. You know, many of them are content creators, creatives, musicians, and the people that consume their social media content has somewhat brought a level of safety and acceptance, right? Which doesn't always translate into the LGBTI people's lives outside of social media. We still have cases of people being violated on the basis of their sexual orientation. We still have people being violated because they identify as trans outside of social media. And this doesn't mean that on social media that doesn't happen. So the extent of safety is also intertwined with what we call like class politics.
And we have seen like cases and even like a rising trend for the past 2 years of instances of cyberbullying, hate speech, hate crimes, online harassment towards LGBTIQ people. And that is also linked to global trends that filter down and come into our society, and Botswana pick it up and act these crimes out, right? And I mean, obviously it's not allowed, it's not good. The only downside of social media is issues around regulatory frameworks and governance, because that's still a big gap.
Hate speech and misinformation remain concerned. Some individuals, including public figures, have used digital platforms to express hostile views, often framed in religious or moral language.
Reboni, just maybe let me reference the 2019 same-sex decree case, where people were calling the litigant Letsweletse Motsidi among names. Where people were saying, you deserve to rot in hell. Who brought you into this world? What are you doing? And we've seen a rise in hate speech and hate crimes towards the LGBTQI community.
Technology facilitated gender-based violence is still prevalent, hate speech is still prevalent, and in many instances we see, particularly when there is some form of queer activism, where people are opposed to that. So I think in many instances queer visibility online has often been reduced to ridicule, has often been reduced to entertainment, and not when we try to address some substantive human rights issues that we often face. So I think it's for us as an organization, Success Capital, to call on the need to ensure that there are safeguards that prevent hate crimes, hate speech, and ultimately that allow for the freedom of expression, the freedom of association, and the freedom of assembly for queer folks to organize digitally, to advocate for themselves, and ensure that there's dignified representation across all forms of media.
Despite these organizations such as Lahabibo say social media is also being used strategically. Online groups are being moderated, harmful content is documented, and members are educated on reporting tools and digital safety practices. Currently, Lahabibo is conducting a survey to assess experiences of hate speech and hate crimes affecting LGBTIQ plus persons.
Like it brings anger, frustration, and just being belittled online is not nice, even for anyone outside of being an LGBTQ community. So with that, like we sensitize the community when we do community outreach events. This is what hate speech is doing to the LGBTQI community. This is how you can speak to the LGBTQI community. We try to educate and inform the public, that is different stakeholders, from your members of parliament, your honorable council members, from Dikhosi to Baruti. We sensitize them on sexual orientation, gender identity, expression, and sexual characteristics. So as Lahabibo, we focus on informative and educative advocacy.
There is an opportunity also to create comprehensive frameworks that would support dealing with hate speech, hate crimes, not only for LGBTIQ people, but for everyone in Botswana, right? Because we do need frameworks that protect all of our rights, not only LGBTIQ rights. I know there's, and this is also part of hate speech and misinformation that goes out there, that LGBTIQ people, we want our own special rights, but we just want inclusion. We just want to be protected, respected, like everyone else.
Legal protection also exists. Botswana's constitution prohibits discrimination, and laws such as cybercrime and computer-related crimes criminalize online stalking and certain forms of harmful digital conduct. Advocates argue that these protections can be leveraged to strengthen safety for LGBTIQ plus persons online, but awareness and enforcement remains key. 𝐒𝐿𝐿 TV News.